Recording. Okay, Kant, part two. Okay, so since I haven't seen you in like a month, let's review part one. So we're on the same page. So remember that Kant is talking about, unlike his contemporary or predecessor, I think, Hobbes, who says that we're not naturally moral and therefore we have to be seduced into being moral, right? Told that we'll be happy if we're moral, right? Kant believes that part of us is naturally moral according to Kant, or part of us naturally desires morality. Anybody know what he calls that part of us? Let's remind me. I forgot. Put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand. What's the part of us which is interested in morality? And then there's another part of us which isn't. Brown, tell us.
Is it reason?
Yes, reason is the part of us which is leaning, desiring morality. And which part of us is interested only in our own happiness?
Instinct.
Instinct. Okay, very good. So make sure, everybody, that you have these two concepts down. Okay, we have reason and instinct, right? And this is really Kant saying that, unlike Hobbes, right? Let me write Hobbes in the chat again, right? Hobbes was a little bit before him, right? Hobbes, who said, remember the famous quote, man is a wolf for man, right? Is a wolf for man. So we are wolves, right? We're only interested in our own happiness.
Did we study Hobbes, Professor? Sorry to interrupt. Did we study Hobbes at all?
If you had come to or listened to the introduction lecture, yes.
No, I did. I'm just saying, is he one of the ones that we...
No.
Oh, okay. I did listen to it.
Very good, Brown. Excellent. No, we didn't do him in detail, right? But I'm just situating Kant again. I'm just giving a big review of everything we did so far because it's been a long time. So Hobbes maintains, right, that we are entirely wolf-like and that we need to be seduced into being good people through the promise of happiness, right? Hobbes tells us if we're all moral, we'll have a beautiful society, everyone will get along and we'll be happier. Okay, Kant says no. Part of us is moral, part of us is naturally moral, and all we need to do is learn to listen to this part. And that's why he wrote this book, right? To help us distinguish between the voice of instinct, which is the predominant voice, is the loudest voice. In fact, most of our choices, we only need instinct because most of our choices are choices, what's good for me, what's not good for me. But occasionally we will be faced with a moral dilemma, right? What is the right thing to do? And at that moment, reason will kick in and guide us naturally, according to Kant. So all we need to do, according to Kant, is to be clear which voice sounds like what, so that we can clearly know, this is instinct talking, this is not going to be a moral decision, this is reason talking, right? And remember how confusing it can be, right? Remember the story we did with the bar, the cute girl or cute guy, and you're sitting here and you decide, should I go up, should I stay sitting? And we saw that most of our decisions, right, it was instinct saying, don't go up, you'll get beat up by the boyfriend, or stay sitting, you'll be happy, right? So we saw how, in a way, it can get mixed up, right? There can be the voice of instinct can be speaking, and we think it's the voice of reason. So now all we know so far is that instinct will always talk about happiness, right? Instinct is only interested in what makes me happy or what makes someone else happy, right? But we haven't yet figured out clearly what the voice of reason sounds like, right? And so in order to really be able to sort out through all the voices in your head, you need to have a clearer view what the voice of reason sounds like. And today, finally, we will figure it out, right? So all we did last time was talk about there's two parts of our being, reason, instinct. And we talked about how instinct is only interested in our happiness, but we never really got to the point of what does reason sound like. So today we're going to do that. So let's go to page 34. Go to the top of page 34, wave at me if you're there. Put your hand in the screen. Okay, good. So he begins here. Here, philosophy is seen, in fact, to be put in a precarious position, which should be firm, even though there is neither in heaven nor on earth anything upon which it depends or is based. So here he goes back to his starting point and he says, morality, the philosophy I'm talking about, there's nothing in heaven which can tell us, what's right and wrong, and there's nothing on earth which can help us. So let's stop a little bit and explore what he means by heaven, what he means by earth. What does he mean when he says there's nothing in heaven that can help us determine what is the right thing to do? Anybody know? Very good, Islam, right? So first thing he says, religion cannot help us, right? Religion is not going to know, because it's true, sometimes religion is talking to you and saying, right, you should kill this person, you should, right, you should conquer this city, you should hate this group of individuals. So religion is not very reliable, right? When it comes to morality, religion is flawed, and Kant is aware of that. And remember, Kant is coming from a context, the European context of Christianity, and he knows the history of the Christian church, and very often the decisions of the Christian church were not moral, right? The decision to go and send crusades to the Holy Land, or to set up the whole apparatus of the Inquisition, right? These were not, the best actions that the Christian church has taken, right? So he knows religion is not reliable. Now, what does he mean by earth? He means also earth is not reliable. But what does he mean by earth? It's not science, no. No Islam. What would he mean by earth? Science doesn't bother about morality. Science is not interested in right and wrong, right? So what could it be, this earthly source of morality?
Is it humanity?
And so be careful, right? Because there is, what do you mean by humanity? So careful, Nieves. No, it's not. People are flawed. Alper, you're on the right track. Alper, go ahead. Tell us.
That we might just have these superficial, not superficial, but like subjective decisions on what's right and wrong, but they're not really, true morality is not beholden to them, to just what we as a civilization happen to think is right and wrong.
Right, exactly, right? The laws, the whole social, political context, and the laws that we create as a society, not necessarily moral, right? We know many instances, even in this country, right, where certain people couldn't vote, right? Or certain people were not able to get an education, or it was forbidden, right, for certain people to marry, right? So we have many laws in this country which make sense maybe politically, but morally there's a problem, right? So earth could mean the political laws, right? Society's laws. It could also mean nature, right? A lot of the philosophers talked about the laws of nature. Kant is saying we cannot rely on those either. So what can we rely on to know what is right and wrong? What do you think Kant is going? Where do you think he's going? What's the only place we can turn to know what is the right thing and the wrong thing to do? Yes, Alper, right? Inside. Right, within us, all of us, he says, has the moral law written, right? We don't need to turn outside. We don't need to go to the religions, read scripture, listen to the priest, go and follow the laws of the land. We just need to turn inside. And sometimes there will be a contradiction with the moral law inside of you and your religion or the political system. And at that moment, Kant is saying there is no higher authority than your higher self. So remember, we talked about how Kant might be, he might stand with people who do civil disobedience, right, in order to create new laws, right? So he's saying very often, or sometimes, maybe not so often, but sometimes the laws of the land will contradict the inner voice of your reason. And at that moment, you are responsible, you are called, right, to protest, because the higher authority should never be the president or the laws. Highest authority is your higher self. That's the only authority. So when he talks about duty, remember, it's not duty to a commanding officer, duty to your higher self. Your highest authority is you. I mean, the higher you, not the instinctual you, right? And that's the law that we have to follow, right? So now we have to go deeper, right? So I promised you we would. So let's go to page 35, where he's going to go excavate even deeper into what it means to follow our reasons. So let's go to page 35, second paragraph. Now, go towards the middle of that paragraph. At the beginning of the sentence, there's a capital H, hence. Tell me when you get there. Second paragraph, middle, Hence, are you there? Put your hand in the screen if you're there. Okay, a few of you are there. All right, so I'm going to start reading there. So we're getting deeper now. So he goes, hence there exists a distinction between subjective ends, which rest on incentives, and objective ends, which depend on motives valid for every rational being. Okay, let's begin the translation. Okay, so he distinguishes between subjective ends and objective ends. Okay, so ends is a goal, right? So he's looking, so what he's saying there is that when we make a decision, are we thinking about a subjective goal or an objective goal? Okay, a subjective, are we thinking in terms of subjective or objective? So we still don't know what that means. We have to go deeper. But we know there's two paths, right? Now remember, we already know there's two paths, instinct and reason, right? So he's going deeper. He's saying there is subjective, objective. By the way, which one do you think is subjective? Which one do you think is objective? Just take a wild guess. Instinct or reason? Subjective end. When you're thinking of yourself, the goal is you. Is that instinct or reason? That's an easy one. Okay, very good. Yes, bunch of you writing instinct. For once, we all agree. Okay? Subjective end, meaning the goal is yourself. The subject, subjective, right? You're thinking in terms of what's good for me. The goal is you. What's good for me, for the self. This is clearly instinct, right? And he explains, right, this is based on incentives. What is an incentive? An incentive is something that I want. Okay? So we're good on subjective ends, right? Everybody's clear on that? When we're thinking of subjective ends, we're thinking of what's good for me. Subjective, what works for me. What makes me happy. Incentives, what I want to do. Now we go deeper, finally, in the voice of reason. Objective ends. Now the goal is not just me. What does he say the goal is? Depends on motives valid for every rational being. What does that mean? What's the goal? Me or something more? What am I thinking about when I'm thinking in terms of objective ends? Yes, other people, and more specifically, rational beings. So we have to talk about what does it mean rational being, right? So, and this is of course reason, we'll get there, right? And this is right, the way he puts it is, this is valid for every rational being. Okay, so yes, Rivera, subjective is instinct, objective is reason. So objective ends, the goal is not just me, it's every rational beings. Okay, so let me write that again, right? An objective end means that my goal, right, when I'm making the decision is not just me, it's every rational being. Okay, am I clear so far in the terminology? Everybody with me? Put your hand on the screen. You all with me? Okay, good. Now, we have to figure out what is this rational being, right? In other words, this is a decision you're making within mind. Here I am faced with a rational being, right? First decision is like, okay, what I want. Second decision is, rational being. What? So what are you thinking, right? So he actually goes, and the key now is to define what is a rational being, because this is how we will know how reason is reasoning, how reason is working, what reason is telling us. All right, look down, last paragraph. There is a definition of a rational being. Can anyone see it in the last paragraph? Can anyone try to tell me what is a rational being? In other words, how is a rational being different from the other objects in the world, right? How is a rational being different from my house, from this book, from my bottle? What's different? Can anyone tell me? He gives a definition here. Anybody figured it out? What does the definition mean? Okay, let's read together. Last paragraph, page 35. Now I say, put your hand in the screen if you're there. Okay. So he says this, right? Now I say that man, meaning in general, human beings, and in general, every rational being, now he's giving a definition, exists as an end in himself and not merely as a means to be arbitrarily used by this or that will. Anybody know what this means? What does it mean to be confronted by a rational being? How is a rational being different from other objects in the world? Can anyone tell me based on what we just read? Did anyone understand what Kant is trying to say without me saying it first?
To me, it sounds like he's saying that it's a bit of a circular reasoning almost, but he's saying that anything that has subjective goals is in of itself a rational being and therefore is now included in an objective goal of being cared for.
Okay, be careful. You're making him circular. He's not. You have two. It's simpler than you think. Here you are. You're about to make a decision. For example, should I cheat on my wife or not? Okay? Let's imagine this. Now, subjective end, you're thinking of you. What will make me happy? Right? Objective end, you're now thinking beyond yourself to all the rational beings involved, including you. Okay, that's it. Make sense, Alper? Okay, that's it. Simpler than you think. Okay, now Fanartsis has an explanation. Almost, not quite. Let me read it again. Is an end in himself not a means to be used? In other words, what is he saying about a rational being? What can we not do with a rational being for it to be a rational being? What is it forbidden?
Maybe you can't question a rational being.
Nope, that's not what it says. As a means is not a means to be used by this or that will. Pretty clear to me. Why is no one getting this? Yes, Harkins. Raise your hands virtually, guys. I can't follow you like this. Harkins, go ahead. Fanart, you're on the right track.
I might be wrong on this. By any chance, is he saying like you can't objectify it? Like it can't be like literally what he's saying, like it can't be used.
Yes.
Like you can't play with it like it's a toy.
Exactly, right? That's what he's saying. He's saying a rational being is a being that is different from all other beings because we cannot use it, right? In other words, as soon as you start to use a human being, you lose the humanity of that person. You lose their personhood. You're going against that. And so what he's saying is that we need to act in a way that protects the personhood of every being we encounter. Let me write this down. We need to act in a way that protects the personhood, and we'll see later, dignity of every human being we meet. And this includes ourselves. And how do we protect the dignity of each other? How do we protect our dignity? By refraining from using each other. Okay? There's nothing more demeaning, right, than to treat someone as an object you're just gonna use, right? There's nothing that strips a human being more of their personhood, of their dignity when you start to use them. And we use each other all the time, right? How many times you befriended someone because they had a car, right? Or you're dating someone because they're cute. You don't give a damn about them, but they're cute, makes you look good, right? Or married someone because they have money, right? I mean, there are so many decisions we make where we are ruthlessly using each other, right? What Kant is saying, when we do this, we are stripping the person of their dignity. And so what reason is, the voice of reason, what it sounds like is simply this. As you're about to use someone for your happiness, reason goes, stop. You're about to transgress a limit which has been placed on you, right? So let me write this down in the chat, right? The voice of reason is simply that voice in you, right? The voice of reason is the voice in you, in your mind, right? Which protests every time you are about to use someone. Okay, that's all it is, right? Objective ends depends on an awareness of rational beings. When you're thinking, what reason is doing is basically blocking you or is protesting any moment you're about to use someone. Okay, let me give you an example so you can be clear about what I'm talking about. Okay, let's see. Yeah, okay, let's use the marriage. Wealthy man, wealthy woman, Okay, you're dating, you're on the dating scene, your parents introduce you, or whatever, your matchmaker or your friends introduce you to this wealthy like hell individual. Could be a man or a woman, depending on who you like. We'll do either one. Now, you kind of like them, but you know, it's not love, you know. But then you're thinking, oh my God, all this money. All the things I could do with this money. And you're thinking of your life with all this money, like I would be so happy with all this money. I could travel, I could study, like I could do 3 PhDs, you know, it would be great. And now you're super tempted, right, to marry them for their money. Now, what's instinct saying? Okay, you're sitting here, you have your 2 voices, right? Like everybody. So what is instinct saying about this? Is instinct good? Instinct is like Fanartsis. Go ahead. Remember, virtually, I don't always see you. Fanartsis, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So, okay, so instinct would be you're looking out for yourself. So you would say that you would go through with it just to take care of yourself and your own means, while reason would tell you not to do such a thing to protect the other person.
Okay, exactly, right? So instinct, we know already, would be like, yes, let's go. Let's do this. Instinct, by the way, might also tell you, no, we should wait for someone we really love with whom we'll be happier. Instinct could also say that, right? But if you're the kind of materialistic person, your instinct will not think twice, right? Depending on who you are. So you're going to go ahead. Now, reason, now we see more clearly how reason is acting. Reason is going to say, no, watch out. You're about to use this person. So reason is basically the moment we feel a slight discomfort. And I think we all have it at some point, right? How many of you have a slight discomfort when you're about to use someone? Put your hand in the screen. Okay, a little bit. You're not too comfortable, but you'll do it. But, you know, you have a tiny bit, you know, of discomfort. This is reason. So reason, the only thing reason will ever tell you is watch out, somebody's dignity, including you, is about to be transgressed. You're about to use this person. That is what reason will always, that's the only thing reason cares about, is the dignity of another human being. Not the happiness. We saw that last time. It's not the happiness of other people. Remember your friends want to do a drive-in, drive-through, how do you call this? When you go rob a bank with a car, what is that called? You have great friends, don't you? Exciting. So they want to rob a bank and you're the car, right? And you're like, you're tempted, you know, to make them happy. That's not reason, right? That's still instinct. Reason is totally different level. Reason, the only thing reason is interested in is the dignity of human beings. You can do pretty much anything. As long as you don't touch the dignity of human beings, reason will be quiet, right? Now, as soon as you begin to damage or to jeopardize either the dignity of somebody out there or your dignity, reason will be heard, right? So now we have a clearer view what reason means. He goes a little deeper and calls this attitude of not using respect. That's what he calls respect. Go to page 36. Here we are at the test question. Exactly. Right? Open your ears. Page 36, I'm just going to read from the top. On the other hand, rational beings are called persons, right? So he's saying reason is always going to be protecting the person, the dignity, inasmuch as their nature already marks them out as ends. Okay, in other words, they have value in themselves beyond how useful they can be, right? They still have value. You don't like them just for the use they have to you, i.e. is something which is not to be used. And hence, now here's the key, make sure you write this down. There is imposed a limit on all arbitrary use of such beings, which are thus objects of respect. So what is respect? Respect is the ability to curb your own desire to be happy or to use someone for the sake of their dignity or personhood, right? That's respect, right? To respect someone is to refuse to use them. So here you are now, right? You have this wealthy heir or this wealthy heiress that people are proposing you marry. You step back, you choose not to do it out of respect for their dignity. You don't want to use them, you want to protect their dignity. And so even though it makes you unhappy, you're not that happy about this decision, you wanted all that money, you are still going to curb your desire for happiness in order to protect that dignity. Right, we're on page 36, top of page 36. So, what Kant is saying, we need to be clear. He's not saying we should never follow instinct. Instinct is very good telling you which ice cream to buy, right? The which one is better for you, telling you which career to choose, telling you which major to major in, telling you even which partner to marry. Instinct is excellent, very good, reliable, right? But there will come moments where your drive from happiness will hit a limit. And that limit is the dignity of another human being. In other words, Kant is saying, be happy, take whatever you want, enjoy yourself. But no, your happiness is limited by the dignity of another human being, right? Our happiness stops where the dignity of another human being begins, right? Okay, Alper, you have a question?
Yeah, I got a lot of problems with this. First off, he doesn't really explain what makes something an end unto itself, like what gives something value, you know? Like I was thinking animals, like straight up, I don't see a reason why animals should not be subject to these same laws. And, you know, like you can use an animal, but like it's also kind of cruel, you know?
Good. That's your main question?
That's one of them.
Let me answer it and then we'll come to your other one. So the value of a rational being is not something, I might even say that we are the ones who are responsible for that value. So it's in as much as I value you as a rational being that you emerge as a rational being. So if you want to do that with animals, be my guest, right? Because in a way, we are the ones who choose, right? We get to choose. Now, rational being also means a person capable of morality, right? Of moving beyond instinct. And you could make the argument that some animals are capable of that. Yes, absolutely. It's certain dogs, certain cats will like risk their life for you, right, and so forth, or help each other. So I think you can easily argue back to Kant that animals are rational beings that are also persons, right? We can do that, yeah. But we are the ones really who protect that value, and I agree with you that inherently animals have it too. You can argue that not all, some animals are really animals, you know, but there are really some animals that stand out and are capable of that, just like human beings. Some human beings are, you know, I was going to say worthless, but I can't in the context of Kant, right? so I think, Alper, you have enough evidence to respond to Kant on that, and I think Kant would agree. If he were to live in our times, he would probably be on your side on that one. What's your other questions, Alper?
Related, like what if a person is in a vegetative state, you know, like someone's in a coma, like or brain dead, you know, like I don't know, does that person suddenly lose all value according to Kant?
No. A rational being has value always, even if they're useless, even if they're in a vegetative state, right? For Kant, the human being always has value no matter how vegetative they are, because he's saying what makes us valuable is not our productivity. It's not our use. Precisely, he's saying what you're saying. And so even if you're useless, in fact, Kant goes further, even if you're a psychopath, you're still worthy of respect because you're still a human being, right? So he would argue even Hitler is worthy of respect, right? And we can't use him or, you know, kill him or do anything like that, in the sense that he is still a human being with, even though he's a bad human being, he's still a human being with dignity, with the dignity of a human being, right? So that's the beauty of Kant. What he's saying is that a rational being is always has value and must be protected, no matter how degenerate they have become. They still have the dignity of being a human being, right? And at that point, we are called, or reason calls us, to protect that dimension and withhold from using. So we can be happy as much as possible. We can follow our instinct, but reason will always place a limit, right, on our instinct, where the dignity of another human being begins, right? Alper, answers your question?
Yeah.
Other questions?
There sort of was. I mean, Kant lived, what century did he live in?
18th.
Okay. So did Europe outlaw slavery by that point?
I think, I have to check though, but I think Kant was part of those people who were against slavery, who were for the abolition of slavery. There was a big trend in the philosophical world against that, precisely in the name of that a human being has inherent value and you can't just use them. So yes, I have to check though. He has political writings, and I have a feeling. I really have to check. Anybody want to check? I'll give you extra credit. Whoever checks Kant's views on slavery. Anybody want to do that? Put your hand in the screen if you're interested in this extra credit. Okay, look up, please, what Kant says about slavery. I hope that it is not something that will contradict everything that we've been talking about. You never know.
I mean, he could be a hypocrite on it. I mean, plenty of people
could.
were hypocrites in that regard.
I mean, Jefferson, after all, anyways. So, but I would venture to guess that Kant might have been, in the an emancipationist. So, but I have to check. You have to check. Any other questions, Alper? Thank you for this interesting dialogue. And yet, anything else?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay, anybody else has a question that needs to be clarified before we continue? Okay, now I'm going to give you an example. Oh, fun artist, go ahead.
No, I was just looking now at Kant's critique of slavery and colonialism, and I didn't open it, but it just says that he criticized colonial conquest and slavery as uncivilized practices.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. So Alper, you see, he's a man who is a kind of united with his own philosophy, right? He's not a hypocrite in that sense, at least. He's not great for women, but for slavery, he does have a strong stance, apparently. So I will talk about the exam, but not now. Okay. All right. Let's see. What did I want to say? Yes, I'll give you now an example so you can see clearly, right? All right, this is an example I think I gave last time, but now we can see very clearly which is the moral thing to do. So remember I told you, here's the scenario, right? Let's remind ourselves of this scenario. You have a huge final exam on, what's today? Tomorrow, okay? And this exam is 70% of your grade. The teacher, you cannot negotiate with that person. They're a robot. Teachers like that. And so you have to take that exam at that time. Otherwise, the teacher will fail you. If you fail, you get an F in the class and you lose your scholarship. And there's no way out because you're in this, what do you call this scholarship where you have to finish in 4 years? Excelsior, right? You're in the Excelsior. You have to finish in 4 years. If you fail that class, you can't take it again. And it's over for you. Your whole life is over. Okay? Are we good? All right. Now your best friend comes to you at midnight. They've just lost a family member, and they're devastated, and they can't focus. They can't study, and they beg you to let them cheat off of you the next day. Right? They're begging you to do that. Now, let's see. What does your instinct say, and what does your reason say? Let's hear it. Let's see how many of you will find what Kant, or how many of you have become clear. Not Kant, that doesn't matter what he says. What matters is being clear on what your voice of reason would say. Okay, so Hat, you say instinct would say that. Yes, okay, tell us why, Hat.
Well, I don't know. So initially my first thought would be like, yes, I'll do anything to help you. But obviously, especially if it's how Queens College is, with if you cheat, you'll get kicked out. The reasoning, no, but the instinct, yeah.
So when you're thinking I won't cheat because I'll get kicked out, is that reason or instinct?
I don't know. I feel like that's reasoning.
Are you thinking of the right thing to do, or of your happiness when you say if I cheat I'll get kicked out?
Well, I don't know. It depends on how you consider the cheating part, because that could be morally the wrong thing to do.
Okay, let's see. Let's clarify. Islam, can you help us? When she's
So the way I thought about it, I was thinking instinct. I'm not gonna help them because if I get caught, I'm out of there.
Yes.
But reason, I feel like since reason is thinking about the well-being of others, I'm not gonna help them cheat.
It's not thinking of the well-being. It's thinking of something else. What is it, Islam?
I just had it in my notes.
It's different.
That is true. what if the both of you guys get caught? Then you're both in more trouble than you would have been if they had just, or if either of you guys had just failed. Because if you cheat, both of you have the risk of getting caught, which would probably cause them more stress on top of what they have.
Yep. So now we have, what do you think? What part of you is thinking that, Hot? And then I'll come back to you, Islam. Thinking about how you'll have stress and it's going to be horrible, both of us getting kicked out. What part of you is thinking that, Hot?
Well, I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit of both. I'm not really sure.
Okay, who can help her? What part of her is doing the thinking right now in Hot's mind?
I know it's the instinct part, but
Okay,
for me,
why?
Because you're thinking about yourself but not about the other person.
Oh, you can think about the other person and still be with instinct. Why? Remember, let me clarify.
It's more to protect yourself when you're thinking on instinct than it is about
it can also
it's better for you than it is for the other person.
No, you guys are not getting it yet completely. It can also be about protecting the other person. Instinct, okay, everybody write this down. Instinct is thinking always about the well-being, Islam, well-being, or happiness of either you or the other. Everybody's happiness, right? Always thinking in terms of happiness. What's the smart thing to do here so we can all be happy? Reason is not interested in well-being. It's only interested in one thing, dignity. Right? It's different, the dignity from the well-being. Dignity is the person is not becoming demeaned. They might be unhappy, but they're not demeaned, meaning their personhood has been stripped by being used, right? Are we clear on this, everybody? Put your hand in the screen. Instinct, everybody's well-being, including you. So instinct can think about others. It can want to protect others, right? But it's still instinct. Reason, only one thing. Not well-being, not happiness, dignity. Okay, now, Hot. Let's do it again. What part of you is thinking about getting caught?
The dignity part.
What?
The dignity.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, my internet is a little bit. It's the instinct, the dignity part.
Yes, very good. The dignity is reason. Instinct is happiness, well-being, right? Now, Islam, back to you. You were thinking about well-being of the other person. What's doing the thinking?
When you're thinking about well-being, it's instinct, like you said. Reason, what I was gonna say, my answer was I'm gonna say no, but I'd still want to help them, so I'd help them study or something.
You can't though. You can't help them study.
Oh, okay.
They can't.
Well, I just have to say no then. Yeah.
Okay, so Islam, you would say no. Reason would prescribe no, and why would reason say no?
Because you're losing your both people are losing their dignity, I guess.
Why?
Or yeah. Huh?
Why is that?
Because I'm helping someone cheat, find a shortcut, get out of a situation instead of working for it themselves.
And is that undignified? How is that taking away their dignity? Remember, there's a very narrow definition of dignity. Dignity is to not use, right? So how is somebody being used here? Is somebody being used in the process?
Yeah, my friend would be using me to cheat.
Exactly. So you're protecting your dignity when you're saying, I'm sorry, I can't help you cheat. And now everybody's miserable, right? Your friend's miserable, you're miserable, but you've done, right? The voice of your reason doesn't give a damn that you lose your friend, doesn't give a damn that your friend loses their scholarship. Reason is only interested, protect dignity of a human being by all means. Are you guys following? Okay, who would have another scenario? Anybody would help them and think this is a rational thing to do to help them cheat? Anybody? Or has yes, Rivera, go ahead.
I mean, that would help someone cheat. And if we get caught, we go down together.
So let me think of your reasoning, right? You'd help someone cheat. Why exactly? What's your reasoning?
Because I know once in the blue people go through things and sometimes they need a break.
Okay, so you would be compassionate and you want to help them, and you want to help them keep their scholarship, right? And you want to help them stay afloat. And what are you thinking about when you want to help them do all that?
To give them a second chance, and I don't want to see them fail.
So are you
Give them
thinking
hope.
about their well-being or their dignity when you're doing this?
I'm thinking about their well-being.
So which part of you is doing that thinking then? Instinct or reason?
Reason.
Ah, careful. Which part of us thinks about well-being?
Oh, instinct.
Yes. So even though it sounds very noble, what you're about to do, and it is, it's still instinct, right? You haven't. What would your reason say? Would your reason protest a little bit, tiny bit?
I guess. Oh, my reason will be telling me not to, but
Why?
because I'll get in trouble for it. But at the end,
Careful, careful,
knowing me,
careful. You'll get in trouble. Is that reason or instinct? Ah, you're muted.
sorry, I know in the end I will be okay with being in trouble as long as that helps someone out in the process.
So you're thinking about you're gonna help them be out of trouble. So is that reason or instinct?
Instinct.
So you're still in the instinct, right? Now, let me help you. Suppose you have the choice between helping them cheat or talking to the professor and avoiding the whole cheating thing and finding another path. Which path would you take?
Talking to the professor.
Why do you prefer that to helping them cheat?
Because I would rather have them comprehend what they're doing and giving them another chance as opposed to cheating because it's not really helping them.
Exactly. There you're thinking about the dignity. I want them to be not stooping down to cheat and using me, right? The cheating is a little bit demeaning for you because you're being used and they're using you, so it's demeaning for them. So now you're seeing how even if you looked so willing to help them cheat, there's still part of you which would prefer another scenario, right? Does that make sense, Rivera?
Yeah.
So that's the idea, right? The idea is that reason is always going to be slightly uncomfortable with a scenario like that because there is a kind of lack of dignity on your part, on their part, even though it does feel overwhelmingly like the right thing to do, it really, in the context of reason, is not, right? Islam had it down. Okay, I know I have 5 minutes, but I'm gonna finish a little later. Fun Artsis, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna tell you time check, that's all. Because you told me to let you know 10 minutes before, but I know that we were in the discussion.
Got you, got you. Okay, I'm sensing not everybody's really understanding this. So it needs to be clear because you have a test coming up, right? How many of you are still confused about this? Can I see some hands? Okay, so put your hand in the screen if you're still a little confused. Okay, so Rivera, Fanartsis, Brown. Okay, Brown, tell us what's wrong.
I think it's just the discerning part. It's really, I mean, when you've been, I think, conditioned to think your instinct is your best asset versus your reasoning, you know what I mean? Because most of us do. We think our instinct is what gets us over. So, how now looking at it, how it plays a part in decision making and for yourself and for others and things like that, it's like so hard to discern now. Like it's just all brand new.
Yeah, so be careful. What he means by instinct is not what you mean by instinct. You mean by instinct kind of a hunch or like a kind of intuition, right, Brown?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's not what he means. Instinct is just selfish self-interest in Kant's language, right? That's what he means by instinct. And reason is the voice of your conscience. So he's not even talking about that. Probably he doesn't know it, right? He's a rationalist from the 18th century. He's not interested in intuition. So it's not a hunch, right? So just you have to rephrase it, what it means in your head. Instinct is just greedy self-interest or thinking just about happiness of me and of other people. Reason is thinking about the dignity. Is someone losing their dignity in the process? Does that make sense, Brown?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me give you another example, right? Suppose, okay, this is a good one. You love someone, right? You're totally in love with them. And they tell you, I don't really love you, and I know I'm going to marry someone else, but we can still be together for now, right? Um, how many of you would be like, okay, let's do it? Or know someone who would do it, and what would be speaking in your mind as you're doing it? Let's imagine you would accept that scenario, right? It's like, okay, I'll be, and you love them and you just want to give them your love and you just feel maybe they'll change, right? And you feel like, okay, let me accept this kind of ambiguous situation. Maybe the situation will change. What part of you is accepting this? Let me ask that. Let me not put anyone on the let me not isolate anyone. What part of you would say, let's do it, maybe it'll work, right? Okay, so Malone. Yeah, so absolutely, right? Instinct would be like, let's try it because maybe we'll get the guy or the person in the end, right? Reason would be like, oh, hell no, right? We're not going to we have dignity. Reason in you, right? Your reason will tell you, protect your dignity. Don't let someone else use you. So reason is not just for other people, right? Your reason is going to try to protect other people's dignity, but also your dignity, right? Your reason will always say, don't use that person, and it will always say, don't let yourself be used, right? Okay, are we clear? Who is still not clear? Put your hand in the screen. Rivera still uncertain. Anybody else still unclear? Why are all these faces off? Brown, Critchell, Ali, Hussein, Hot, please turn on your faces so I can communicate with you. Okay, Rivera, stay a little bit because I have to. Well, actually, I have 1 minute. Tell me what is your question? Mm. Rivera, go ahead. Tell me what is your question, and unmute yourself.
I'm just trying to because they kind of sound the same, so I'm trying to just distinguish the both of them. I'm just like, yeah, I get this instinct, and you're like, it's reason. I'm like, oh shit, it's
So
reason.
the thing
Yeah.
between dignity and well-being is different. You can protect your dignity and lose your happiness in the process, right? I mean, suppose like the wealthy person, right? I'm going to protect their dignity and I'm never going to be wealthy. I'm going to continue to be poor. This was my chance to get out of poverty, right? You see the difference?
So reason is overall, and instinct is like personal.
Kind of. Instinct is, no, they're both overall. Instinct is thinking also of the other person, but they're only thinking in terms of what will make us all happy and feel comfortable. Reason is thinking what will protect our dignity. And sometimes they clash, right? To protect your dignity, sometimes you have to say no to something nice that you could have, right? Like let's imagine someone wants to date you, or you're hanging out with someone and they're kind of cute and fun, and you're like, oh, we could have so much fun just dating, and but then part of you is like, you don't really love this person. Why would you do it? Why would you use them just to feel good at that moment, right? You see what I mean? So sometimes protecting your dignity is going to be something that makes everybody unhappy, right? So that's where you see the difference. Does that make sense, Rivera?
So would dignity be your instinct or your reason?
Reason. Dignity is reason. Happiness is instinct.
Okay. I think I'm starting to understand.
Okay, great. Okay, awesome. All right, your test. It's very simple. You've all done pretty well in the past, right? I'm seeing. It's not too bad. So your test question is, what is love for Rumi? What is respect for Kant? It's pretty easy. Remember, you want to put in as much information as possible. You want to have quotes, right, from the texts. Remember that these tests are simply me seeing how well you take notes. So I can immediately see whether you're a good note taker with lots of details or whether you're not, right? And your grade depends on how much information you put in. So remember, you should be taking notes non-stop during these lectures, right? And if you feel like you missed, you can always go back to the recording, right? So make sure you have about a page per question, single-spaced, divided by paragraphs, right? Don't give me a big blob. And quotes. Those are the three things. 1 page, single-spaced, paragraphs, and quotes. The test questions are in your syllabus. Then you have your essay. Remember your essay, 1.5 pages, single-spaced. And it's always the same thing. You tell me about a relationship crisis. It can be you. It can be the same crisis the whole semester, or it can be someone else. And you tell me, is there anything that you learned from Rumi and Kant which can help this couple overcome this crisis, right? That's what I want to hear in your essay, 1.5 pages, single-spaced. Feldman, you have a question?
Yeah, when you gave us a grade for the last test and for this one also, is it like a combination of the essay and the test? How do you weigh it? Like,
So
I only got one grade.
the grade I put in the grade book is only the test. The essay is pass-fail, so I just put a little check mark in my grade book. If there's a problem with your essay, I'll let you know.
So it's like the writing assignment that if you do it, you get credit.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on the test? Okay. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.